He was a teenage Tacitus, self-made strumaholic. He was a very good dancer and a legend fool. He lived by the rock in his parents' house. He was my friend, and that was the modern world. Garages full of speakers. Futurism failed me. Cabs everywhere for a while. Like gangsters in the hot Chicago sun. Points of view at the top of your lungs. Sense of health in the drunk and weak and clean shaven sober. We loved the college girls. Now I just gotta rule the airwaves, and that was the modern world. He was your reggae buddy and WNOV. Last saw him on the platform. What an afternoon. Passport in his hand, the pass could not command him. I was so proud he blended in with the crowd. The train pulled away and I never saw him again. Never saw him taking it back to Trenchtown. If you can set me on the freedom track. Stayed up late waiting for the future. We were the future, no future. Blood is thicker than catgut, brother. Friendship never dies. You can't hit the market on Saturday morning. Cleanse the crud from your eyes. You can sing the blues late and you can run away alone. But the sounds from the street and police and thief will always remind you of home. Always remind you. Always remind you of home. Ba-da-ba-bum, ba-da-ba-da-bum, ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-da-ba-da-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba-ba, ba-ba-ba. That goes out to Mick, singer of the Laytons. The first combo with which I ever stepped on stage, aside from some nice recital groups that my mother put together when I was younger. So this Layton's was really my first thing of my own volition. And Mick, you'll be happy to know that a very, very discerning listener just heard the Laytons for the first time. It was this song. And she thought it was the Clish. Imagine that. Now the judge gave you 5 to 10. Now they're sending you back to the pen for the process to start over again. With the system so complex, it's like having no purpose until they place you under arrest. Life without dues, plate maker. Life without rules, plate maker. Watch the rules now, plate maker. Pay your dues now, plate maker. Larceny in the first degree. Watch them bargain now for your plea with your fate in hand. They both agree. All the way it's been diamond thin, but you're paying now for your sins till the candle burns. blues. So give me life without dues, plate maker. Life without dues, plate maker. Watch the rules now, plate maker. Pay your dues now, plate maker. Plate maker. The feds doing every word you said with the right stick aside your head. No more life, simple pleasures, how you want to spend your leisure, all the moments you once treasured. Plate maker, the Laytons, filtered through your reggae buddy Eric's One Man Sensibility and Silvertone Esplanada. Mick used a Telecaster, and I played a mongrel drum kit, mostly assembled from Guitar City, Metropolitan Music up on Silver Spring, no longer exists, and Stein's Jewelers downtown. Thank you to Jeff Lawasser for hooking me up back then. You never gouged me, man. I was an impressionable young fella after all. Stepmama, 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 step on. I remember it was cold. I was 10 years old when I was told my daddy got married. The lady he had wed made him happy, so he said. His letter I read and reread, and it was scary. He brought her to Grandma's, and even my grandpa's rough exterior disappeared in meeting her. They asked me, do I wanna meet my new stepmama? I said no thanks, and I played with my tinker toys and tanks. Stepmama, 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 step on. Mama walked into my room and asked me how you doing. I said I'm doing fine, but I was lying. I said I don't wanna go. She said I know, but I'll always be your mama, no harm in trying. The very next evening, we went out for eating, my sister and me. Stepmama, new stepsister, and our daddy. She wasn't so bad, y'all. She even liked basketball. She had a friendly kind of face, and she wasn't trying to take my mama's place. Years went by, she and I didn't always see eye to eye, but you know she loved me, and my sisters too. Our love just grew and grew, to my daddy always true, thank God above me. Stepmama, you had such a hot job. Oh, stepmama, steady putting up with my drama. Never would have guessed that one day I'd be blessed with the two best sister girls and the two best mamas in the world. Stepmama, 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 step on. Stepmama, 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 I do remember some really lovely things from when I first met my stepmom. She actually was a football fan. Basketball just happens to rhyme with "not so bad, y'all," right? Kind of, sort of. Is that like a false rhyme, Martin?
Well, ball rhymes with y'all.
Yeah,
in any sport.
Right. Bad y'all basketball, better than
Oh,
bad
yeah, I see
y'all
what
and
you're after.
football, right?
Yeah, foot doesn't slide in.
She wasn't so soot, y'all. No, that's not. She wasn't so kaput, y'all. What a terrible thing to say about your stepmama.
No, that's not good.
No,
Not broken.
that won't do. Thank you. And so she actually liked football, and she had an autographed photo of Dick Butkus. So her just telling me that pretty much.
Sie sind nicht kaputt und
Jawohl.
liebs Football spielen.
Ja, sie liebt Fußball. Viel sehen, nicht so viel spielen.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Danke sehr. And so, Penny, I hope you like my repetition of this song week after week after week. But what I'm trying to present to you people is a coherent set of higher quality than ever before. And so, in our pursuit for quality, what we do is we only swap out one or two songs a show right about now. If you think that should change, I'm sure you'll let us know. And this is the brandest, newest, and it is in memory of Tamara Grigsby, our state representative, who passed away on the 15th, at only 41 years old. And I happened to run into her a few times on the front lines of the struggle for working people. And Lord knows she was passionate about taking care of our teachers and our hardworking people who don't get paid nearly what they should. And it was inspired by, this song was inspired, as are so many these days, by the Petunia. So I must give credit where credit is due. It's called As Long As You Walk the Earth. May every sky be blue. May every day be new. Except, my dear, when you a good long shower dew. May every load be light, except on exercise night. May gravity keep you close to the ones you love the most. And may the good Lord heal every hurt as long as you walk the earth. May morning find you rested and evenings well nested. May all troubles be lessons in not too many seconds. As long as you walk the earth, there's a smile on my face. As long as you walk the earth, there's hope for the place. To be continued?
You're listening to Riverwest Radio on WXRW LP 104.1 FM Milwaukee. Thanks for the show, Eric. Oh, yes. You are listening to Riverwest Radio on WXRWLP 104.1 FM in Milwaukee. And it's time for another exciting adventure of public domain radio theater. This week we're going to hear from 1966, The Foundation Trilogy by Isaac Asimov. It's about an hour long. It won the Hugo Award for Best All-Time Series in 1966. Enjoy.
Title, Foundation. Foundation and Empire. Second Foundation. Author, Isaac Asimov. Part number 2. Part title, The Mares. Encyclopedia Galactica 116th edition. Entry, The Four Kingdoms. The name given to those portions of the province of Anacreon which broke away from the First Empire in the early days of the Foundation era to form independent and short-lived kingdoms. The largest and most powerful of these was Anacreon itself. Undoubtedly, the most interesting aspect of the Four Kingdoms involved the strange society forced temporarily upon it during the administration of Salvor Hardin.
On the way, Hardin. You'd better come in, Lee. I need one person on my side of the fence. I don't see why we need waste time with them. They can't do anything until the next election. Legally, anyway. That gives us a year. Give them a brush off.
Lee, you'll never learn. In the 30 years I've known you, you've never once learned the gentle art of sneaking up from behind.
Not my way of fighting.
Yes, I know that. I suppose that's why you're the one man I trust. Come a long way since we engineered the coup against the encyclopedists. Getting old. 52. Do you ever think how fast those 20 years went?
Oh, I don't feel old, and I'm 56.
Yes, but I don't have your digestion.
Oh, they're here. Where will you see them?
Here.
Oh, you're making them too important.
Why go through all the ceremonies of an official mayor's audience? I'm getting too old for all that red tape. Besides which, flattery is useful when you're dealing with youngsters, particularly when it doesn't commit you to anything. Sit down. Give me your moral backing. I'll need it with this young fellow, Cermak.
Cermak's dangerous, Harding. He's got quite a following. Don't underestimate him.
Have I ever underestimated anybody?
Well, then, have him arrested. You can charge him with something later.
Here they are. Ah, come in, gentlemen. Councilman Cermak, I've been anxious to see you ever since your very excellent speech last month. Your attack on the foreign policy of this government was a most capable one.
Your interest honors me. The attack may or may not have been capable, but it was certainly justified.
Perhaps. You're entitled to your opinions, of course. Still, you are rather young.
It is a fault that most people are guilty of at some point in their lives. You became mayor of the city when you were 2 years younger than I am now.
Yeah, I take it that you've come to see me now about the same foreign policy that annoyed you so greatly in the council chamber. Are you speaking for your colleagues, or must I listen to each of you separately?
I speak for the people of Terminus, who are not truly represented in the rubber-stamped body called the Council.
I see. Go ahead.
It comes to this, Mr. Mayor. We are dissatisfied.
By we, I take it you mean the people.
I believe that my views represent the majority of the voters on Terminus.
Yes,
Does that suit you?
well, a statement like that's always the better for proof, but continue. You are dissatisfied.
Yes. We are dissatisfied with the policy which for 20 years has been stripping Terminus defenseless against the inevitable attack from outside.
I see.
Therefore, it's nice of you to anticipate. And therefore, we are forming a new political party. One that will stand for the immediate needs of Terminus, and not for some mystic manifest destiny of future empire. We are going to throw you and your clique out of City Hall.
Unless. There's always an unless, you know.
Not much of one in this case. Unless you resign now. I'm not asking you to change your policies. I wouldn't trust you that far. Your promises are worth nothing. An outright resignation is all we'll take.
I see. That's your ultimatum. Well, nice of you to give me warning. But you see, I rather think that I shall ignore it.
Don't think it was a warning, Mr. Mayor. It was an announcement of principles and action. The new party has already been formed, and it will begin its official activities tomorrow. There is neither room nor desire for compromise. And frankly, it was only our recognition of your services to the city that induced us to offer you the easy way out. I didn't think you'd take it, but now my conscience is clear. The next election will be a more forcible and quite irresistible reminder that resignation is necessary. Good morning.
Hold on. Sit down. In exactly what way do you want our foreign policy changed? I mean, do you want us to attack the four kingdoms now, at once, simultaneously?
It is our simple proposition that all appeasement must cease immediately. Throughout your administration, you have carried out a policy of scientific aid to the kingdoms. You have given them atomic power. You have helped rebuild power plants on their territories. You have established medical clinics, chemical laboratories, and factories.
Well, what's your objection?
You have done this in order to stop them attacking us. With these as bribes, you have been playing a colossal game of blackmail, in which you have allowed Terminus to be sucked dry, with the result that we are now at the mercy of these barbarians.
In what way?
Because you have given them power, given them weapons, actually serviced the ships of their navies, they are infinitely stronger than they were 2 decades ago. Their demands are increasing, and with their new weapons, they will eventually satisfy all their demands at once by violent annexation of Terminus. Isn't that the way that blackmail usually ends?
Of course. And your remedy?
Stop the bribes immediately, while you still can. Spend your effort in strengthening Terminus itself, and attack first.
Are you finished?
For the moment.
Well then, do you notice the maxim on the wall behind me? Violence is the last refuge of the incompetent.
An old man's doctrine, Mr. Mayor.
Now, I applied it as a young man, Mr. Councilman, and successfully. You were probably busy being born when it happened, but perhaps you may have read something of it when you were at school. Anacreon then, as now, the most powerful of the four kingdoms, demanded and actually established a military base upon Terminus. And the then rulers of the city, the encyclopedists, knew very well that this was only a preliminary to taking over the entire planet. That is how matters stood when I assumed actual government. Well, what would you have done?
Well, that's an academic question. Of course, I know what you did.
But perhaps you don't get the point. The temptation was great to muster what force we could, put up a fight. And what I did instead was to visit the 3 other kingdoms one by one, point out to each that to allow the secret of atomic power to fall into the hands of Anacreon was the quickest way of cutting their own throats, and suggest gently that they do the obvious thing, that was all. 1 month after the Anacreonian force had landed on Terminus, their king received an ultimatum from his 3 neighbors, and in 7 days, the last Anacreonian was off Terminus. Now tell me, where was the need for violence?
I fail to see the analogy.
You still seem unable to grasp the fundamental necessities of our position. Our problems weren't over with the departure of the Anacreonians. They'd just begun. The 4 kingdoms were more our enemies than ever, for each wanted atomic power, and each was kept off our throats only for fear of the other 3. We were balanced on the point of a very sharp sword. The slightest sway in any direction, if, for instance, one kingdom becomes too strong, or if 2 form a coalition. You understand?
Certainly. That was the time to begin all-out preparations for war.
That was the time to begin all-out prevention of war. I played them one against the other. I helped each in turn. I offered them science, trade, education, medicine. I made Terminus more valuable to them as a flourishing world than as a military prize. It has worked. For 20 years.
Yes, but you were forced to surround these scientific gifts with the most outrageous mummery. You've made half religion, half balderdash out of it. You've erected a hierarchy of priests and complicated, meaningless rituals.
What of it? I started that way at first because the barbarians looked upon our science as a sort of magical sorcery. It was easier to get them to accept it on that basis. It's a minor matter.
But these priests are in charge of the power plants. That's not a minor matter.
True, but we've trained them. Their operational knowledge is purely empirical. And they have a firm belief in the mummery that surrounds it.
But if someone breaks through the mummery, what is to prevent him learning actual techniques and selling out to the most satisfactory bidder? What price or value of the kingdoms then?
No chance of that, sir. The best men on the planets of the kingdoms are sent here to Terminus each year and are educated into the priesthood. And the best of these remain here as research students. If you think that those who return with a distorted knowledge the priests receive can penetrate it abound to atomic power, you have a very romantic and foolish idea of science.
Mr. Mayor, a message for you.
Thank you. Set it up on the scanner. In short, gentlemen, the government is of the opinion that it knows what it is doing.
Yes.
Thank you. Clear the message. And that, gentleman, concludes the interview. Thank you for coming. Well, Lee, how far do you think he'll go?
I'm not sure. But treat him with kid gloves and he's quite liable to win the next election just as he says.
Oh, quite likely. Very likely, if nothing happens first.
Cermak has a following. What if he doesn't wait until the next election? There was a time when you and I put things through violently, despite your slogan about what violence is.
Ours was a necessary measure, put through at the proper moment and went over smoothly, painlessly, and all but effortlessly. As for Cermak, he's up against a different proposition. You and I, Lee, aren't the encyclopedists. We stand prepared. However, put your men onto these youngsters in a nice way. Don't let them know they're being watched.
Cermak and his men have been under surveillance for a month now.
All right. By the way, Ambassador Verisov is returning from Anacreon.
Was that the message?
Yes.
Are things breaking already?
I don't know. I can't tell until I've heard what Verisov has to say. They may be, though. What are you looking so worried about?
Because I don't know how it's going to turn out. You're too deep, Hardin. And you're playing the game too close to your chest.
And how was the trip, Verisov?
Interesting. There was a priest in the next cabin who, on his way here to take a course in the preparation of radioactive synthetics for the treatment of cancer.
Surely he didn't call it radioactive synthetics.
Certainly not. To him it was the holy food. He inveigled me into a theological discussion and did his level best to elevate me out of my sordid materialism.
One never recognized his own high priest.
Without my crimson robe. Besides, he was a Smyrnian. It was an interesting experience, though. It's remarkable, Hardin, how the religion of science has caught on. I've written an essay on the subject.
Really?
Well, entirely for my own amusement. It wouldn't do to have it published. Treating the problem sociologically, it would seem that when the old empire began to rot at the fringes, science, as science, failed the outer world. To be reaccepted, it would have to present itself in another guise, and it has done just that. Oh, it works out beautifully when you use symbolic logic to help out.
Interesting. Now, what about the situation on Anacreon?
Bad.
Obviously. Otherwise you wouldn't be here.
Here's the position. The key man on Anacreon is the Prince Regent Vinus. He's King Leopold's uncle.
I know. But Leopold is coming of age soon, isn't he?
Yes, if he lived. His father died under suspicious circumstances. A needle bullet through the chest during a hunt. It was called an accident.
Yes. I remember Vinus when I was on Anacreon, before your time. Let's see now. If I remember, he was a dark young man. Black hair and a squint in his right eye, and he had a hooked nose.
That's him. The hook and the squint are still there, but his hair's grey now. He plays the game dirty. Luckily, he's the most egregious fool on the planet. But he has unlimited self-confidence.
Probably an overcompensated inferiority complex. Younger sons of royalty get that way, you know.
That amounts to the same thing. He's foaming at the mouth with eagerness to attack the Foundation. Scarcely troubles to conceal it. And he's in a position to do it, too, from the standpoint of armament. The old king built up a magnificent navy. And Vinus hasn't been exactly sleeping the last couple of years.
All right, then. I've got the background. What has actually happened?
Well, 2 weeks ago, an Anacreonian merchant ship came across a